Hello my fellow working class heroes, good day. I am Carlo and welcome to Carlo Excels. These are the objectives of this episode. First of all, we're gonna review entering text data in Excel, and then we're gonna combine text data in Excel, and then we're going to combine constant text data, combine constant variable data. We're gonna try combining mixed constant and variable text data, and then we're gonna try combining text and value data, and then combining value data. This lesson will start with a situationer. Now, I know this is something that happens to teachers from time to time, and it might have already happened to you at least once in your teaching career. Say, for example, a superior from your school either ordered you or asked you for a favor to retype or to rearrange data of students. Say, for example, the superior wants it gender first, and then the full name of the student, and then the birth date of the student. And then it just so happens that the data that comes from the registrar looks like what you can see on the screen right now, wherein the last names, the first names, the middle names, the genders, and all of the elements of the data that you need are actually separated from each other. And then you try asking your superior, can we not just print the Microsoft Excel sheet? And then your superior says, no, I want it in Microsoft Word. So for a lot of teachers, it's going to be a few minutes of copy, pasting, and then retyping the data according to how your superior wants it to look like. Or you can simply use Microsoft Excel to combine the data and then finish this task in mere seconds. Let me first demonstrate how easy it is actually to do it in Microsoft Excel without actually having to retype the whole thing. I'm gonna start a timer the moment I start doing the procedure. Actually, that was quite slow. I did make a lot of key mistakes there, but still, 1 to 2 minutes is still much better than what a lot of people would have to go through, wherein they would have to do a lot of copy pasting and would probably have to re-encode the whole thing. So how did I do that? Continue watching the video and you will learn how. So what I just showed you in terms of Microsoft Excel terms is called concatenation. Concatenation basically simply means to take one end of something and then to take the other end of something and simply connect them together. You're not necessarily adding them, you're just connecting them, alright? Say for example, look at the words on the screen right now. It says you and are and beautiful, which you are, by the way. So concatenation means you simply take each word and then you simply stick them together so you have the result, you are beautiful. Now let me say, in Microsoft Excel, when you want to concatenate text or values together, you actually use a special function in Excel known as concatenate or concat in some other versions of Microsoft Excel. But let me tell you in fact that concatenation can in fact be done in the earlier versions of Microsoft Excel, and it simply involves the use of the ampersand symbol. So what you can see on the screen right now is the ampersand symbol, and it is the symbol that you will find if you look at what's above the number 7 on your keyboard. So let's review the ways I've taught you so far on how to enter text data. There are 3 ways that I've taught you so far. First of all, if the text is already text, all you have to do is just, enter it in Microsoft Excel and it is already text. The second one is, if you're going to enter numbers and if you want it to appear as text, if you remember our first lesson, you're going to have to use the apostrophe. So for example, if you're going to enter again 001, right? 001, you're going to have to use an apostrophe before you type 001. The other way for you to do this is to set the cell, you format the cell, and turn it into text. Alright, so after it has been formatted into text, that is when you type in 001 for it to appear as text. Now, when you want to enter text data but you want to do it within a formula, there is one way to do it, and you want to do it with the quotation marks. This is how you're gonna do it. As usual, when you start a formula, you use the equal sign, right? So equal, equals, and then you enclose the text data in quotation marks. So for example, I'm gonna put here the text data Pedro. If you type in Pedro after the equal sign, it will give you a name error. And the reason why Microsoft Excel gives you a name error, it's because Microsoft Excel does not recognize the word Pedro as any one of its special functions or even a name of a range or things like that. Microsoft Excel assumes that it is a function or a range because you haven't used the quotation marks. Alright, so let's try this again. This time we're gonna use quotation marks. So let's type here equals and then Pedro. This time we put it in we put it within quotation marks. So Pedro, like so. And in this case, Microsoft Excel now displays this as proper text data. Now this is what I like to call constant text data, alright? I'd like to call it constant text data because it is not linked to any other cell reference. It will stay as the same text data no matter what happens to any other part of the worksheet or workbook. So the data right now is a constant Pedro text, alright? So if I wanted to say Pedro space Kaloy, for example, all I will have to do is enclose the space and the Kaloy within the quotation marks, just like normal, alright? So you have there Pedro and then type in space and then type in the word Kaloy, and then you have there the full word, the full two words Pedro Kaloy as text data. But you can also actually separate the constants from each other. So for example, I can do this actually. Quotation mark Pedro, and then I'm going to use an ampersand symbol between them to connote that to tell Microsoft Excel that I am in fact combining these constant text data, like so. Now when I press enter, what you will see is Microsoft Excel has in fact combined or concatenated the words Pedro and Kaloy together. But this isn't what I necessarily want, right? What I want is for there to be a space between Pedro and Kaloy. So how do I achieve that? How I'm gonna do that with simple constants is this. So equals, and then I put in the text data within quotation marks again, Pedro, alright, and then use the ampersand, and then I put in another quotation marks, and this time put a space between the quotation marks, so pressing the space bar once, and then quotation marks, alright, and then of course, press the, put in another ampersand, and then quotation marks with Kaloy, alright. This time, you will now see a space between Pedro and Kaloy because it has the space has also been concatenated between the words Pedro and Kaloy. Now, why am I discussing it like this? Because knowing the basics of how to concatenate constant text data is in fact necessary for you to understand how to concatenate variable text data, or in other words, text data within cell references. Alright, now we're at this sheet. Again, we have here a list of fictional names of students with their fictional genders and their fictional birth dates. Now, let's try combining using variable data, or in other words, let's try combining these text data using cell references. So how is it done? Alright, you click on a cell wherein you want to put the results in, like so, and then you start with the equal sign to tell Microsoft Excel this is going to be a formula, alright? So equals. Now, select the first cell that you want to concatenate. For example, I want to select last name first, alright? You can either type in the cell address manually. For example, it's on B2, so I can type in B2 manually. Or I can, of course, click on the cell. Oops. Click on the cell, like so, alright? And then, again, to connote that you want to combine it with another cell, use the ampersand, alright? And then, next, C2. And then another ampersand, next, D2. So what you're telling Microsoft Excel is, take whatever text is in B2, combine it with C2, and then combine it with D2 to get the result. And the result in this case is this. Now, what you should know about concatenation in Microsoft Excel is, Microsoft Excel will take the text exactly as it appears or exactly as it is typed. Well, now you have what you want, right? But this isn't necessarily what you really want, because when you write full names, all right, especially when you write them last name first, there is supposed to be a comma after the last name, and there is supposed to be spaces between the names. So let's start first with putting a comma between last name and first name. So what you want to do is, between B2 and C2 over here, all right, please look at the formula bar, you want to add in a constant, all right, and the constant will be, of course, a comma and then a space. So it'll look like this. So B2 ampersand, open quotation, and then you want to add a comma, space, and then close quotation, and then another ampersand. So doing this, pressing enter, what you will now have is a proper comma and a proper space between the first name, the last name, and the first name. Alright, next, we're not yet done because there is no space between the first name and the middle name. Of course, you'd want to put a space there. So what you will do is, between the first name and the last name, what you want to do is, of course, after the first name, ampersand, and then you want to put in a constant, a space, alright? So, quotation mark, space, quotation mark, and then another ampersand. So that's gonna tell Microsoft Excel last name, which is in B2, and comma, space, and whatever's in C2, and another space, and D2. So if you press enter again, you will now have the full name of the student, which is written correctly. Alright, now you want it to be a numbered list. So the numbers are already in column A. Alright, so what you want to do is, you want to concatenate whatever it is on column A and then add it to, the list. So A2 over here, and then another ampersand. Now, when you number stuff, right, you have to put in a period and then another space before whatever follows. So, quotation mark, dot, space, open, close quotation, and then another ampersand. And if you press enter, this is your result. So I'm guessing by now you're starting to see the pattern as to how to do this, right? So let's finish up, but let's do this step by step. Now you want to add a gender between the number and the name. Now when you add a gender, you want it also to be enclosed in parentheses. So what you want to do is, this is the number, which is A2, and quotation marks, and what you want to do next is, you want to add your open parenthesis. So let's add an open parenthesis, like so, alright? And then ampersand, you want to put in the gender, alright? And then another ampersand, and then you want to put in the close parenthesis, and then a space right before the name. So, close parenthesis, space, close quotation, ampersand. So what you're telling Microsoft Excel this time is, the number, and then a dot and a space, a number, let's do it again, a number, and then a dot and a space, and then close quotation, open quotation, and then whatever's in E2, which is the gender, and then close quotation, and then another space, and then the name, just like what we did a while ago. So when I press enter, you're going to have exactly what you asked for. Next, let's put in the birth date, alright? So, again, we want the birth date to be enclosed in parentheses. So, after the last name of, the middle name of the student, we have to put in another ampersand, and then open quotation, and then, of course, we want a space, and then open parenthesis, right? Open parenthesis, and then another ampersand. This time, we want the month first. There has to be a space between the month and the day, like so, alright? And then another ampersand. Now, there has to be a comma after the day before the birth year. So, comma, space, and then the birth year, alright? And then another ampersand for the close parenthesis. Close parenthesis like that, and you have exactly what you need. So by doing this long procedure, I already actually demonstrated different types of concatenation. So we already combined different variables together, different cell references together, plus cells with value data in them. Yes, they can be concatenated. We have already demonstrated that. And of course, we have also combined it with constant text data, which are the ones that are enclosed in quotation marks. So if you already followed the discussion on basic calculations, which was the previous lesson, you would know, of course, that if I copy this with the formulas and then I paste it downwards, of course, the cell references here will also adjust downwards. So much so that you enter the formula just once and you find out that it's already fine. You copy that, paste all of that here, and then you have concatenations of all of the names, and then you have your full list. So some of you may be asking now, if the ampersand symbol can do this, why do we need the concatenate function? Well, the ampersand works well when you want to combine just a few elements together. In this case, we only combined the 8 columns together, so the ampersand works just fine. The concatenate function, on the other hand, can in fact combine massive strings of text together. Say, for example, you're talking about 100 columns, 1,000 columns. The concatenate function can in fact do that. But as teachers, of course, there really is no need for us to combine hundreds or thousands of columns of text together, so the ampersand symbol works just fine, especially because it works on all versions of Microsoft Excel. So let me make an important note regarding the concatenation of dates. So you have here, on column A, you have here the birth years. Then on column B, you have here birth months. And column C, you have here birthdays. Let's try concatenating this data. So let's try, of course, equal sign. And then birth month. And space, birthday. Ampersand. Comma, space. Ampersand, birth year. Alright? So if I press enter here, you will have here the concatenated birth date of the student. The problem with this is, even though it looks like a proper birthday, alright, it is not actually value data. It is actually text data. How would you know this? That's because if I right click and then pick format cells and then pick date, I cannot in fact change it into a date format that I want, because again, this is not date value. This is simply text that looks like a date. So how do you change text that looks like a date into a proper date value? Or in other terms, how do you change values that look like text into proper values? There is a proper function and procedure for that, but that is going to be discussed in a later episode. So as usual, this is where I'm gonna say, please subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss that lesson when it finally comes. So that's it for our lesson on how to combine text using Microsoft Excel. Once again, I'm Carlo, and this is Carlo Excels. Thank you very much for watching.